City of Stevens Point Board of Public Works Committee meeting, recorded November 9th, 2020.
All right, next up, we'll have the Board of Public Works. And the first thing I'll do, Tricia, I believe you're on. Tricia, could you please do a roll call, please?
Sure. Mayor Wiesa.
Here.
Jeremy Slawinski. Do you hear? Jeremy
I do see Alder
Slawinski?
Slawinski in the
Yeah, I thought I
window
saw
here.
it. Okay. Mary Kneebone.
Here.
Corey Laddick.
Here.
Sean Morrow.
Here.
Tori Jennings.
Here.
And Makira Zarazua.
Okay.
All righty.
Everyone is present, so we will continue. First item is the director's report, which includes the sidewalk continuation, alley improvement, and 2021 street improvements project. Director, anything to add on your report?
Just a couple of things related to sidewalk continuation. Just wanted to, make sure things are otherwise clear here. What I'm intending to do, at least for 2021, which is to postpone any construction related to sidewalk continuation until we can get a better handle on a long-term plan for what we are doing. Basically in response to just, the 3 years I've always been here and done this, 2 years have been within residential areas, 1 year within a commercial area. And every time it seems we touch the residential areas, we get a lot of backlash and it seems to create a lot of angst. And I think we would be, much better presenting ourselves if we had a plan put in place that kind of illustrated what it is we were trying to accomplish and how things would come together. And in doing that, I think we're just that close with the model that we can finish that up this year, and then we can present that here and kind of get people, told ahead of time to do this. So just wanted to be clear on that, because I know what my intentions are. If any of the alders, anyone has on the committee has an issue with that, please get a hold of me at that time. I'm sure we can put something together yet if we needed to, but that would be my intent at this time, to do that, is just kind of take a short hiatus here until we can get our ducks in a row, so to speak, before moving forward with that, and hopefully a even better, more organized fashion, even than what we have to date.
Thank you, Director.
Yep.
Any questions regarding the director's report or a motion to place the report on file?
Motion. This is all tomorrow to place the director's report on file, please.
Thank you. Is there a second to that?
I'll second. This is Alder Slawinski.
Seconded by Slawinski. Discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to accept the report and place it on file. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That is approved. Item number 2 is consideration for trash and recycling pickup at 2 municipal parcels owned by the Stevens Point Housing Authority. In the included memo that was in your packet, as we were going through these, we noticed a couple of anomalies. These are municipally owned parcels, and at some point in the past, likely for bookkeeping ease and removing some confusion, the parcels were merged into one. So we have 2 sites that are owned by the municipality, the Stevens Point Housing Authority, that have 4 duplexes on one parcel. Obviously, I think that it's clear to us that these are residential properties, and since they're owned by the municipality, it makes sense that we pick up our own trash rather than contracting out and using our services. The intention here was to clean up those commercial properties, and that was defined as 4 more units on one parcel. However, these anomalies came through only because at some point in the past, they happened to merge those parcels together. Okay, any discussion there? Okay, then I would entertain a motion.
It's Alder Slawinski. I'll move approval.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Kneebone.
We'll throw the second to Alderperson Kneebone. Any further discussion? Comments from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And that is approved. Item number 3 is ordinance amendments regarding bike lanes in section 9.12 and in parking section 9.05. Director, anything you want to add?
I guess just otherwise to add on the bike lane portion of things, I think the rest of it is pretty clear there. It's just, so everyone understands is that, even though we put the, longitudinal line there in some places, just due to the actual measurements of the road width and stuff, sometimes it wasn't possible to get the bike lane and it looked the same. And so when we had people working the field and other people working on the ordinance changes and stuff like that, sometimes those changes weren't necessarily conveyed to it, because ultimately if you drove down the road, you would see nearly the same thing. So we did pick up, and we've been working on that just to make sure we have everything correct. So there's just kind of an error there, an assumption made that what was originally proposed was put into place. And unfortunately, the widths just don't otherwise work officially to create bike lane. So it's urban shoulder. So it's just trying to correct that. I think the rest of it is self-explanatory.
Alder Jennings.
Yes, I actually do have a question about the next one, 9.05, and perhaps I'm just misreading this, but it looks to create a lot of on-street parking. However, the description in the memo or in your report is it's basically aligning how enforcement occurs with how things are actually marked. So is this opening up more on-street parking, or is it just cleaning up, making the signs reflect what?
It's just really cleaning up things there. So, kind of well, that's what's been standing and working in there. And our understanding talking to the police department is, how things are actually operating, what the signage is there. And just in some cases, the ordinances don't always match that. Sometimes they're minor in differences, sometimes more significant. But yeah, it otherwise just matches that there's a general agreement between the Department of Public Works and PD that kind of what's marked out there is kind of what's more desirable. So in some cases, it's just eliminating those ordinances or changing the ordinances, I should say, amending them to match what's otherwise in the field, because that's what everyone's accustomed to and that's what's being enforced.
All right. I'll move to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second. Alder Morrow.
Seconded by Morrow. Any discussion? Comments from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that is approved. Item number 4 is to accept a proposal from Grummer and Associates, Inc. for design assistance for the 2021 Street Improvement Project 21-01 for an estimated fee of $174,000. Director.
Yeah, as we've otherwise done in past years, just because of the heavy workload we have over the winter, and ensure that we can meet the bidding timelines that we others want to be beneficial for our capital projects. We'll be once again, since we haven't finished the engineering and filled the engineering role, to look for some assistance here. We went back the past couple of years to those firms that have helped us with those. Feel that both are adequate. Got the proposals as they're included in the with the agenda in the packet. Feel that Grummer is capable of doing the work, and they've given us a better price for it. So we'd like to go with Grummer on this one for the assistance with the street reconstruction project at $174,000.
Okay. Comments? Alder Jennings.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the director or maybe the mayor or somebody could maybe comment on, we're having to hire a consultant because you don't have an engineer, director. So how much, is this a case of wasting money because we don't have the sufficient in-house personnel to do what would normally take place in-house? If somebody could just explain a little bit about that.
Sure. I think that it has to do with that in part, the fact that we don't yet have an engineer hired. However, even with an engineer on board, we will still have to be contracting out for some of these projects. So I wouldn't say it's a waste of money. It's probably a little less efficient than we could be. And I'll let the director, of course, elaborate.
Right, and that's very accurate to what it is, because there's still going to be some need for some of the engineering services especially depending if we get into any of the specialized, fields there, for many of the reoccurring things. And that's why I tried in the memo to identify reoccurring, because those are the most things that kind of fall within what would typically within this should be identified as civil municipal work. Sort of things, that our intent is when we get the engineering position filled, that we would then have the capacity to do that. I unfortunately can otherwise lead so much with staff we otherwise have. I get pulled aside as far as director things and can't necessarily do, oversee all of that. Part of that is just the statutory requirement and stuff, licensing requirement, I should say, related to responsible charge, which means that I have to be, knowledgeable enough about what's going on, overseeing things enough as if it was my own work. And I can't necessarily do that on all the various projects that we have. These become a little more complicated to that, so we need someone to do that. These do need to be sealed by an engineer when they're completed. So yes, while it's less efficient to do that versus if we had our own staff, and we may only need to do a portion of things there, just some checks and balances related to the modeling for, say, water or wastewater, just to make sure everything is in order. It is a necessary component, otherwise do it for the design of doing it related to engineering. So yes, less efficient, yes, than we're otherwise hoping to do, but necessary all the same.
Alder Jennings?
I have a question. This is Alder Slowinski.
All right, go ahead, Alder
Okay.
Zelinski, and then we'll go back to Alder Jennings.
Oh, sorry. If Alder Jennings isn't complete, I can wait.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I thought she was.
Thank you. We'll go back to Alder Jennings then to finish up.
Yeah, and just another question, and I'd like a little bit of elaboration. So I've now been on council long enough to see that at times the effort to save money up front ends up costing us more money in the end. And according to your report, both applicants or proposals or bidders for this job seem to be equivalent, and therefore you decided on the lowest bid. Could you, and we also get what we pay for, if you wouldn't mind, just for my benefit and maybe the public as well, just say a little bit more about how these decisions are made, because maybe there are times when we should take a higher bid to get the quality that we need.
Right, and you bring a good point. I don't want to put Director Lemke, on the spot, but he and I, had met last week and had a lengthy discussion in regards to this related to both the proposals that we had. I would think, I don't know if everyone has had an opportunity to look at the proposals. One is in kind of more the format of an agreement with a scope of work. The other one is much more elaborate into qualifications and things like that, which depending upon what you're looking for in those respects of actually what you see printed on the material can give, warm and fuzzies related to that, and maybe a little bit more confidence in what they can others do. I think both are capable of doing it. Probably for every year is maybe a little bit different on kind of what is truly we need to get accomplished and what parts are we missing that we truly need help with that we couldn't otherwise lead or see what's going on. In this particular case, a big part of what we're trying to do is alleviate some of the flooding issues on the north side. And so a big part of what we have here is stormwater. And I think in this particular case now, I'm going to push this to Director Lemke here in a second. Hopefully don't put him on the spot, is related to, his experience dealing, with both of these firms related to some of the stormwater issues he's had to deal with in the past and his comfort level for what they can do for us, in achieving that. Because I think much of what we're otherwise looking for as far as some of the surface features and stuff related to what, would be more in my purview, either one of them is equally capable of doing that. But there are some specialties here we're looking for. And with that, I'll turn it over to Director Lemke.
Thanks, Scott. I guess what it comes down to is I got a lot of the same things to say. But if I go back to the beginning to Alder Jennings, your perspective on sometimes we need to pay more. I think that everybody who's ever proposed a contract to the city would agree with your statement there. But it's when we get more for paying more, not just for the sake of paying more, right? I don't think there's many elders around anymore who when we did actually for this exact same kind of contract propose the higher bidder years back, our proposal was not selected, and because of the fact that there was a low bid. and we went that way instead. So we've been on both sides of this issue. The real matter here is that we have good experience with both of these consultants, can vet them both as competent engineers and as having been through a design phase with us for a construction project like what we're facing in the coming year. That said, the low price seems to be the biggest difference between them, and we're comfortable with both. Scott was mentioning stormwater. We all are familiar with a few years back and the problems we've been engineering since related to regional surcharging of the storm sewer system, Fifth and Grant, that area, and some south and east of there. We were looking at some hired stormwater review help instead of doing that in-house for a while. One of the firms we were looking at was actually Grummer. And so there is a nice play there between what we need as a whole utility and right-of-way corridor for the city as a whole on this project, and the fact that there is a slightly more specific stormwater need on this, and that we do have a comfort level there with them on this. So yeah, as Scott said, they can both do it. We're comfortable with both. We've worked with both in the last several years.
Okay, anything else, Alder Jennings? Great, then we'll go to Alder Slawinski.
Yeah, and I guess I just wanted to comment on, I mean, I'm not obviously on the day-to-day operations, but I've been on council long enough where I've seen, we've done contracts with Grummer in the past, and I mean, I have not heard any issues, so I'm very confident in hiring them to do this contracted work. It's unfortunate that we have to, go this route and we can't do it in-house, but it is what it is. I guess the question for Director Berdoon is, as far as the, is this cost kind of factored in our budgeting to cover this, or is this going to create issues with possibly going over on these projects?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. And if Corey will just mute himself as audio right now, I can give you an honest answer. But that is in part what we do. And until we know we've got the engineer, we actually do include within there. I do the construction-based part of it, and I do add a small percentages, to that for engineering and contingency components of it to cut to our total. And since I've been here, it's worked rather well. Looking historically at what is we typically for the design services have been averaging about 4.5 to 5% for design fees. I add about a 7.5%. Don't let Corey know that percent to the construction cost, which seems to cover us for a variety of things and work very well within there to come up with an actual price. So at the end of the year, we get to this time of the year and we look back and we sum up all of our costs, including the design services and the geotechnical work and whatnot. It all seems to work out rather well at that. So that's been our approach. And if Corey doesn't find out, we'll continue doing that.
And again, I just I'm happy to see that it's a local company, that is potentially going to be awarded this bid. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, I would be looking for a motion.
I'll move approval.
I second. Alder Morrow.
Seconded by Morrow. So the motion is to accept the proposal from Grummer and Associates in an amount estimated fee of about $174,000. Any comments in that regard? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And that is approved. And we are adjourned at 6:47 to Finance.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.